Okay, I have to keep this short. I'm very unwell today. Bear with me, my voice. Before I start, this is notice to agent, notice to principal, and notice to principals, notice to agent to all public funded corporations, companies, and their employees. Date 8th of the 10th, 2018, in the United Kingdom. I require lawful disclosure of offer contract by the public employees, public funded by, well, there's 3 companies involved at the moment, and the conditional acceptance at the moment of offer services is under duress. I'm not rejecting offer, and offer of text my friend's seen today for me, 9:50 a.m. by a public servant. Fortunately, I have to wait to get back to that, and previous to emails. Unfortunately, one thought that's responded to, but obviously my mates checked for me, and that's not. One will do one's best to enable me to respond. I have limited on my right shoulder today. I don't get back to you. I know these employees, public servants might see this or hear this video. Dated as an email my mate found for me Tuesday the 19th of December 2017, Tuesday. In my area, United Kingdom, the conditions and the disrepair of my home, a rented home, in national statute law, this housing association, it was a limited company as well. So in statute law, housing at 1988 and 1989, there's a clause 11 that means basically this housing company employees, the national company, is in breach of my secure tender, and I've secure tender, and this constant unfortunate situation I found since July 2017, the disrepair and the effects on my health as well, let alone everyday needs of my life, is severely reduced. What is shocking and concerning is not being divulged to me. I've had to find this out by another source. On the Statute Law 2000 and dated 2017, it's known as the Homeless Reduction Statute Law 2017. It's implemented since April 2018. As one of the clauses in that, it's extremely concerning, and nobody's been forthcoming with this effect on disabled people's rights to able to live in their home. Now, how this interlinks with another statute law in the United Kingdom, the Care Act 2014, despite one is implied a choice and outcomes in the section of housing to be free to be able to live safely without all this unsafe conditions I'm going through, and more so since. It's the only reason I ended up in hospital, and the reason I ended up requiring, it's called a certain department in my area, it's Northamptonshire County Council. I'm going to quote a company house reference number for the company, and anyone can do this check. I found another document, and requiring then a valid bilateral agreement. The requirements then of binding to offer a contract, and it never forthcome. And sought clarification, and actual the accounting, the lawful due process, and offering a contract. So it was a different department titled than what I'm dealing with now, but in brackets, in company's house checks or Dun & Bradstreet check and website, that is. Okay, company house reference number GCO 407118. That is for Northamptonshire County Council Limited Company. Head office is behind me. New building. I know what's going on basically, and I know who's behind it and how. And I will consider the offer. Once again, it will be put to the individual representing that company as that in their job role for that company, public funded. And no disrespect to any man or woman. They're just trying to struggle along in a very difficult time. And there's lots of people like I who are struggling as it is. So, point I'm making on how it all interlinks with there's another company. Sorry about this noise. I need to look at that because I've been waiting for that link on my right shoulder and my arm that is not functioning properly on my neck. Extremely concerning when I'm bedbound again all day. Okay, so we have that company I mentioned, and previously can't change the past, I wish. So one sought then clear offer for goods and services before via this company, as I say, is public funded. I won't mention the other company at the moment. I have nothing against them, but when they call a department, just trying to find out, clinical lead team, and when I find out who set that up within Northamptonshire County Council, is in conjunction with occupation therapy. So that ties in with Olympus Care Service Limited. Again, that's a company in its own right too, and it is public knowledge who the directors are. You can search out for yourself. I'm not going to inform on that. So the offer, this is how the housing is interlinked. And the new statutory law, which I'm about to quote, the National Health and Safety was alerted again. The agenda, there's a big agenda behind all this, not just to me. The verification and clarification and seeking my conditional acceptance of offer, and then there's recounterclaiming of an offer to seek clarification before I consent to my private dwelling. And it is a private dwelling. So if you look at all this lawful wording and the key definitions, the major outstanding disrepair since summer 2017 to date, it's made unsafe. So I sought clarification on the health and safety of these public servants, and the only concern is the health and safety of their employees and how they claim to offer an assessment of me. But the wording has not been forthcoming. I've since sorry about this noise. So I had to turn it down. So the disability reasonable adjustments has not been forthcoming. This is direct discrimination. Again, sorry about the noise. And to try and seek a remedy forward to get this repair done in my home. On my previous videos, I did offer a Pacific hotel that did meet joint disability medical needs. And this is October last year, 2018, so it's a year on. and that was blocked by two men for this Home Group Limited, National Housing Company. It is also known as statutory law as they call it social housing. So I do have first-hand knowledge of all of this facts of the truth on record, and it's never ever been rebutted. Because if you have first-hand knowledge of all the truth, of all the facts, what's going on, and you put it back into the hands of the director CEO, there about 7 in-house men and women claim to be lawyers at the housing company, and let alone those of the things one has done honourably and lawfully to date. Okay, you come into the human rights element, and this is where it crosses over. In the statute law, the Human Rights Act, if you don't know that, 1998, and the clauses of your environment, there's a duty to make sure there's a breach of your human rights, European Court of Human Rights. But as United Kingdom political arena side of it all, meant to be exiting from that, what does one human's rights look like then, and for disabled people? Well, I'm not politically minded anymore, and I would suggest look at disabilityrights.org. Those are the disability websites to know more. But on this particular section, Article 8, a right to respect for private and family life. I repeat, Article 8, right to private and family life. And Human Rights Act, 1998, statutory law. There is no obligations to accept offer of an occupational therapy assessment who are meant to be, offer their membership number of the National Healthcare Council, and that is not forthcoming either. So I shall not be taking any liability on personal liability myself. It's already been proven with first-hand knowledge, as I said, since ending up in hospital, and more so all during this, mainly on this subject housing. I'm coming into the 2017 statute law reduction, homeless reduction statute law. There's a clause in it, and this is why it's all pointing to this. It's a clause where it says if an individual man or woman is as a personal opinion on these men and women working in their on behalf of public or private limited companies, in their personal opinion on the job role, and if you invite them into your home, your private location, your private dwelling, and they make assumption, and personal opinion that you're living in unsafe. Obviously they know that because all the emails and documentation has already been on their record and computer systems now still, and reduction in my health, and yet the onus is going to be pushed on to me. The way, not just there is other areas and elements in this clause in statutory homeless reduction statute law of another public funded body. I suppose you could call it that way. I do have that reference number to hand, but I can't find it right now. Borough Council deals with the offer of rehousing, I suppose, or prevention is key on housing, losing one's home or being homeless. There's national claim to be charities and claim to be the information and blocks of information come across recently. that this doesn't do anything about prevention. You still have vulnerable people or homeless. You still have people in limited, temporary accommodation. Well, accommodation is like just a room in a place. And there's 3 elements when you look at and download or look at videos or any documentation you might find. Just type in and search anybody listening to this might want to know more. Not already know, unless you're working in the industry of housing, health, social care. This has a big implication in a sense of limited choice. So much for the outcomes, choices and outcomes section in Statute Law Care Act 2014. So much for not offering accessible documentation, which is a statutory duty in any public body, so it's plainly in public office. Again, individuals that's done that has not been held accountable still to date. And with a particular section came across, it includes disabled people and a woman who, or in my position, it's deliberately not to repair this wet room or the hallway. So I would get so ill, and even more so now. I'm not particularly bothered myself anymore with these bricks and mortars. I am concerned about what if, well, there isn't any other locations in one's area. So there's the 3 sections. How my mate's going to relook at it, an individual I know, and work out. It's not even public knowledge, I don't think, on any particular. I think there could be training still. You just make sure you're not going to be intentionally, it's called intentionally homeless. That's a key bit. You go on shelter, you go on all these national or local websites or disability websites, whatever, and try and get your knowledge clued up if you're able to. Because the role of coming in with an individual of X amount of years training and a clinical job role lead is to look at the medical, not just housing. And it's not about what you can and cannot do. It's not about that I was led to believe. It's about my environment, taking up my secure tenure by a personal opinion again. I've had the old system before, but the new system is no longer a bidding process. You either get there's 3 avenues, and the breakdown of offers. There isn't a choice. The illusion of choice, maybe, but there isn't a choice in any housing, not the way it is now, and even more so for those in my position. So this clause absolutely jumped out at me, and there needs to be worded in such a way back to this particular public servant to seek clarification on. I am not sure she is aware in the individual, because their caseloads in public servants and their job role are extremely high because of the cutbacks and other services too. So the arrangements were of last year was to fund a temporary location, like a hotel, and everything, all the emails and clarification was sought that if it was just a simple fact that one needs to move out, then an opinion on a letter to seek clarification of repair reports of what is required and who by and how, and then a storage of one's personal belongings, where and how, and so forth, and offer that clarification by email, letter by email preferably, and not consenting by any meetings offers to be steamrolled over like I was before by certain individuals. And that was clearly, I've still got the evidence in black and white, who said what and how that happened and what went on there. I am not denying the offer of goods and services in contract law. I am just making sure that this time round it's safe, there's full disclosure, there is a full lawful documentation or evidence based, because there is still to date no lawful obligation to consent to certain individuals I do not know in my private location on my own, in a position they know full well they take advantage of my vulnerabilities and my disability, and it's happened before by others, and I do not consent to be in that position. I have come up with a remedy to offer temporary, again, a different location that has a level access shower, that is a safer location, that it will be ideal if that was legit, to assess what one can and cannot do with the medical equipment and personal disability reductions in line with Equality Duty, Statutory Law 2010, Section 21, 22, and specifically work in line with, it's known as in the United Kingdom as NHS England, funding community NHS public funded services in that area. They could have been linked up and working together by now to offer a medical temporary lone bed in that hotel location, which is not too far, and then perhaps offer, and this will be condition acceptance again under duress, because I know it's not a lawful contract offer, but this will be on a temporary basis again, just to assist those key public servants in the job role, to assist me to see what I can or cannot do in the meantime, to carry on with the offer of statute law known as, I repeat, Care Act 2014 in assessment processes and one's lawful rights too, and that's been put on hold unlawfully on the 20th of the 9th 2018, and also by a public funded, and they called it LGSS Law Limited in one's area, and it's their lawyers, barristers in this public funded company who's cut back public funded services to the bone. Been all over the media for months. So that is one amended letter was going to be emailed over the weekend, and reduction in one's health wasn't able to do so. So that will be copied in to the same individuals, and they know who they are, public employees, yet they will ignore again the offer, they will ignore the offer again, most probably, and still imply that there is a requirement, an obligation in my private dwelling. In statute law, you need to be extremely careful on the effect. There's compensation is what I have a lawful right to, and this is another reason why they're deliberately are putting the onus back onto me when I haven't done anything to use the element of what I know I'm unable to self-care and look after my own home. And years before, this area UK has not, is national United Kingdom, they are not offering those that need secure attendance and housing any remedy. And this is clear on this new statute law known as the Housing Homeless Reduction Act 2017, implemented this year, April 2018. And if you look at the beginning of the section of that document, it's quite long-winded. If you skim through, look out for the areas where it says disabled people. This is another backhanded way, unlawfully, to displace vulnerable disabled people out of their secure tenders in the homes. And so if they're too unwell to work for the system, for the state, whatever you want to call it, and they have complexity and disability needs and health medically and care, then one is going to be into whatever placement, wherever that might look like. And the clause is you'll be offered a referral to one's area called a borough, depends where you live in the United Kingdom what it's called. Could be a different council, but in my area it's borough council. It deals with housing and statute laws like applications. Well, I've already got a secure tender and statute law for 8 years. So why does one, it may be required to start all over again and lose a secure tender? So it all boils down to, again, it is absolutely the state again to displace. I don't know how it works with the elderly. Be very careful you've got children, disabled children especially, because if there isn't any housing and somebody comes in and claim to offer you services and they can easily refer you on to this borough council. Now there's funding implications on if you're already offered housing in UK, it's known as housing benefit if you're already unwell to work, and other benefits that has implication on that too. Not one in my area, known as social workers, occupational therapists, have any experience in your welfare, in housing benefits, disability, Department of Work and Pensions it's called, and that has implications if you're on going through another benefit system it's called, is person dependence, that has huge implications. Not to scaremonger this dream at all, this was found out yesterday by pure luck, by researching this individual of an occupational therapy, individual female, and one did a search online on her, found out who she were, and found out her connection, like friends and certain social media, and found that this is not publicly known, by the way. You're not informed this by a social worker or occupational therapy individual. And this particular female, she's a clinical, her heading in a word, as they call it, clinical lead in single care. Never ever heard of that department in my area, and I usually get to hear about these things. So that was when one stumbled across this link in his new statute law, and hence doing the stream. If nobody is aware and you're based in the United Kingdom, I suggest look at it now, well, when you're able to, or find some other disability links and they might have some more information. One website might be helpful, disability law, disability rights, and or disabled people against cuts, and might have some information on it. But as it's only just implemented in Statute Law UK in April this year, I do not believe these key elements on one's area, adult health, social care, or the occupational therapy may be clued up enough. But let me stick to the 3 elements might be offered with the Borough Council. In the colour scheme, they have a colour scheme on their documents being downloaded for me. One is minor support, well, it used to be known as independent floating support and housing. I wondered why that's disappeared. Well, Of course, one has high care needs, and when you're disabled, you have multiple support needs and various things one needs are all different their own way. And unfortunately, with the cutbacks and rushing of offer goods and services, there's definitely going to be cut corners. So when you're already ill and you're very fortunate, you're coping with your illnesses or whatever you're going through, you might not have family or friends around you to speak up for you. Then these individuals might not know, not saying they won't know, just might not know, will be inundated with people, especially disabled people, with the national statutory duty of care in the element. It all entwines with, as I said, the Care Act 2014, housing needs outcomes. That is just a whitewash. That is just a show. That is not about what you like thinking. Perhaps, a housing options could be assisted living model, new model of housing in the UK. Not when you see this housing reduction, this homeless reduction statute or documentation. Not when you read the section on disabled people, how to prevent, the prevention element of disabled people become homeless. Well, put it this way, if this housing company had done the lawful duty of care of their employees in the first place, I wouldn't be in this position. And this was deliberately done. I mean, I've had years of them trying to move me out ever since I've become wheelchair dependent. But I won't go into all that now. The model is changed. And the agenda is bigger than I'm not, excuse me, lose my voice, I'm not giving in. But the fact is that if you don't accept the first offer, then it is complicated, because I'd like to see how these housing current, they're not going to be more employees, public servants in the housing side in the borough councils to implement this. It's just going to be whether or not you made yourself intentionally homeless. So I've always been trying to seek clarification in a letter by email, confirm that my secure tender, I will not be in that position if I move temporary so they could do my housing repair. Excuse me, I've never received anything like that. All these was over a year and 3 months now. So I had my strong suspicions that there was something else in the pipeline, and so obviously what I found yesterday was spot on. Always the intention to displace me from my home or secure tender. So it doesn't matter where you go to the statutory meant to be support services out there, wherever you live. You might be lucky if you have very good housing support network, health, social care. Well, not in my area, put it that way. I've already done various things about this, but this is just another sliding under the back door to push those at high complex needs because of the public purse, conjunction with NHS. Now the housing, what more are they going to do to vulnerable disabled people, and what about then the outlay as well? So there's been various people posting on Facebook about people with disabilities going in with a minor issue, and then something happens to them, their loved ones or their carers go in the next time they visit them and find them deterioration. Within days they die. I am not making this up. I wish to goodness I were. And this one man, he had his mum, and look very carefully on any key documents you may get offered. I would suggest get things in writing, not just phone calls, and just protect yourself. Not that I'm saying don't trust anyone, it's just you have things in black and white, and there's no there's, like, for example, today somebody offered a text and obviously too ill to respond, and this was just another psychological ploy as a certain public servant's way to get into the psyche, to get one to give in. No, you have your lawful rights, but it is absolutely the national, the international agenda, but national agenda in the United Kingdom. It's all about, well, how do I put it simply, as that you're not meant to be seen, you're not meant to get the service you need because you're cost to the service, it's a public purse. So they more want to concentrate on the younger generation, those that have the health currently. It's absolutely genocide, it's absolutely abuse. They're not helping those already. There's been so many blogs about this. I mean, my mate saw yesterday and read up on, and they're not doing anything with those already in temporary accommodation, able-bodied children, with children, families. They're not doing anything about the homeless. They just penalise and fine them on the streets, and they can't even fund their fines by the state system, the police. And they're cleansing the towns and cities and claim this new statute law is going to solve this. No. The documentation is readily, anyone wants to research it, to find for yourself and trust your gut feeling on your own situation. Be extremely, extremely careful to uphold your rights, and you're just not denying the offer of service to your own location, because it's when you rent, don't forget, I don't know if you're privately rent, or I don't know how it works with that, but if you're statutory law, like the state's paying for your rent, and statutory law housing national companies especially, they will side definitely, and I can't emphasise this enough, with the statutory services, county council, borough council. They will all side together. They'll all work behind the scenes. Be careful what you're signing as well. So when you're on your own, you don't have independent advocacy, you don't have family or friends, you try to get to, say, claim to be an innocent meeting, but it's not. They're gathering your information, and where does it, well, there's statutory law, UK, to protect your data, but reality check, be careful, extremely be careful. So, where is there accessible homes? I mean, this housing company, for example, employees only try to offer a 2-bedroom bungalow in Kettering, worse than this place. And I know, as a working age woman, the statutory and housing benefit side, you're only able to rent 1 bedroom. There's funding in statute law, it's known as localism. Bill 2011, that's still in place. More likely they're going to change that again. So when you know contract law, well, a little bit anyway, I know certain things, and you know this is absolutely unhanded, and they don't realise I see what they're doing behind the scenes, and something in your gut feeling sense something isn't right, and you find it out after all, once and for all. If it's legit, somebody like any housing company, you socially rent and disabled people, you have lawful rights, for goodness me, and absolutely being breached of every single one. So I'll go back to the Statutory Human Rights Act 1998 and go on to your right to respect for private life and family life. That's being breached. I can't count how many times. And when you also experience a personal injury, so you end up unfortunately in hospital because of this, effect on your physical life and health, and it's now quite a few times, and I do have grounds to claim for compensation for a lot. It's not about finance, it's all about for the I could go to this Kango court system, but do you have the energy, do you have the health to do all this? I'm not in that position, and they're reliant on that. So the angle, and short stream today, the end of all this, the angle is to use the occupation therapy. As I said, she is a clinical lead, never heard of this before, a clinical lead in single care team. And then I found out who she is, and I won't say her name online, and I know of the other individual. So that social worker, she's got a history of, well, I won't be public in what she's been doing the past days and weeks, and it is just the bit, well, my mate wrote it down for me. I'm just going to go on what she wrote down. Okay, unfortunately, we've got the victimisation, we got the unlawful harassment. I mean, there's a whole long list. So when you look at national National Health and Safety Standards, in whether it's private rent or social housing and statutory rent, there's a duty there, and that is the operations director in housing as well, and repairs. But these are just men and women, yet they have there's no obligation. They just don't have any. They're just following statutory law to keep their jobs and their homes and looking at themselves rather than doing the right thing, you know. So unfortunately, the plans, how will this be done, where will people like me go, well, that's another story. I really cannot see where logically, practically, safely one is going to be able to live. And if there was a lawful duty to repair this place, I would have had 3 report repairs since the 4th of the 9th 2017 to date, to let me know what was required, and they would have funded original hotel that I offered temporary to move in, and I found another hotel recently local in my area that would meet my needs to be temporary, so I could have this confirmation again by this National Housing Company employees. And again, that CEO had that letter detailing facts, and he rejected it. And when they're silent on response, then that is in contract law. Well, they're in dishonour. They've already breached the contract terms, conditions in the housing. I'll go into that one again. They breached statutory duty of care, Housing Act 1998, 1989, unsecure tender. They've already breached the Equality Act, Disability Discrimination Act. They've already refused last year ago, so year to date, really October 2017, blocked and refused to pay for the specialist hotel that met my disability medical equipment needs. And so I've been here ever since. And secure tender again, I'll repeat that. Now we'll go on housing contract law. They breached the terms, conditions, and that. Sorry about the noise. They breached that, and so yeah, the CEO got served with notice opportunity to cure without dishonour to offer remedy, and he still blanked it. So here I am today doing this voice video to, well, basically observe. I wish I had better news, but the national process, I knew this was going to be a complete challenging time, but not to the extent where it's affecting others in major ways, not just me. So because I will now go and use this as the truth of the facts on record of first-hand knowledge, and I will go back to the current offer again. The date they're trying to offer me is coming up in a week's time, where in statute law, excuse the noisy phone, I'll have my new phone by hopefully Wednesday coming up, and I'll be in Sorry, I can't turn that noise off. Don't know how to do that on this phone. I'm using my mates at the moment. Don't know why they keep making notifications so noisy. So yeah, be aware. I just reinstate that clause. It's the homeless reduction bill. I think they call it ACT. Yeah, ACT. I'll title this on this stream. The Homeless Reduction Act 2017, implemented in April. So April, May, June, July, August. They've had 4 months. They've knew 4 months ago. These public servants I'm dealing with knew 4 months ago. So I'm just going back in my notes of what went on in April, July, April. Well, there we go. It's when I got everybody disappeared on holiday on me, and I had no offer social worker. I was meant to be in the middle of having this Care Act assessment. It's quite detailed and horrific, the questions and so forth, and I had no clue this is coming up. So good job I keep a journal, good job I keep notes, and who said what, and I mean, my journal is just full of things I cannot even make public on air, because you just would not even believe it comes out of a mouth of a social worker. And but I've had to keep a note and diary as evidence, and God forbid when that happens to me, then my next of kin, although we don't see eye to eye, she'll present this in a secure way as evidence. Just be extremely careful. If you have trusted family friends, if you're falling out with them, if you can make up do so. Sorry about the noise. The clause, sorry, I got distracted there. The clause in the reduction, Homeless Reduction Act 2017 is the section of disabled people, I just can't believe it, is it's 3, as I said, sections, and the very last section is you take this or nothing. The first section is trying to be softy approach, but I need the Care Act assessment offer sorted out and report done, and it's still not happening. They're putting it on hold for the housing outcomes and choices. Well, there isn't going to be a blinking choice for anybody in my position. And then the middle section, part 2 of this clause, and when you download this statute law, if you're able to do the easy read version, it's better because you get the diagrams in the chart, 3 pieces of the chart where it comes related to disabled people in housing needs. And so basically the key couple of words that jumped at me was a social worker, public servant, or an occupational therapy can easily deem that you're living unsafely, in their own opinion. So what does that, it's worth just checking out and watching videos and getting yourself, I'm going to lose my voice again, excuse me, and clued up about in statute law as well, in their eyes, like you're in their shoes kind of thing, and looking at in their eyes what they deemed is unsafe, what they deemed is unhabitable. Can I pronounce a big word today? What is deemed to be so basically it's like ties in with DWP PIP, the documentation words. Can you self-care, personal care? But it's a bit like in the wording of the Care Act 2014 on housing. The details in that, I obviously can self-clean, one hand is in a wheelchair. I cannot self-care. So it's really hard when you need to look at yourself in reality of your personal situation. You're all different and you've got your own different needs, but this is serious when you're obviously going to be about to lose your secure tenure and when there's nothing else. I just cannot believe they can create this illusion of reduction of homelessness in the UK when there isn't anything, no housing for everybody out there. And if you don't have family, friends, or a rich relative to help you out, then you're not going to be in a safe, secure home. And you would have thought the logical way is to repair. This is, get the shelving and bring in the proper services I should have had all along. And this has been going on too long. And all this could have been avoided. So I wouldn't find myself in this position because of these negligence of these employees and their job role. So public funded companies and these private companies, UK. So if you don't realise there's an agenda, not just about me, on disabled people, while they're finding you people fit for work, for example, while they're definitely making people not get offered this PIP when they generally need it, and that's a disability benefit if you're listening from abroad, while they're making it really, really impossible trying to exist and medically as well, while they're rationing all the cutbacks. There's a big agenda, but I can only deal with my own little situation. And the key words that jumped out was, well, if I had all these previous assessments that they had done in the adult social care, another different type of department of this county council, a few years ago, they kept reprinting out 12 different care plans, just computer generated, not one real human individual assessment, and that never included any cleaning time, any respite, nothing, when yet on black and white before I took them up. There's a government ombudsman, they call it in UK, health social care. I've already done that before and I won my case twice. And 2008, right up to August 2011. And this is where it's like their payback time on me. Well, they don't want people to hold them accountable. I'm not afraid at all. I just know that I need to move on. I'm just looking at the finer tooth comb, so to speak, these words. I mean, gets me how these so-called UK politicians come up with these words, like, unless it's all right for them when they like living in the ivory towers and making decisions on people's lives and the state system that the public is paying for these services. Don't get me wrong, I can see why they want to save the public purse of people working hard and trying to make their own way. And I wished I had my health to do that. If I had my life again, you just can't predict when you're going to lose your health. And it's no fault of nobody's. But the system is broken. Absolutely designed to break. And it's bigger than this. And it's more, when you have your eyes open, so to speak, and you're aware of the bigger other subjects. And I just need to go on my late mum's, the way she approached things in a way. And it's just another chapter in my life that's going to be difficult, put it mildly, and not going to like. And but I need what is lawful, what everyone's lawful rights are, is to have everything in writing before any move of your own location, before you move, because you make sure you get that documentation if you're secure tender already and you're disabled. I can't quote on other people able-bodied. I just not that experienced, haven't got first-hand knowledge on that. And just make sure you have, if you lose, if you need to move on your home, get confirmation in writing. And when you don't move. And if they claim, oh, you're unsafe, well, provide the evidence in your opinion. Public servants, their job role, in your opinion, why it's unsafe, and make sure before you allow them in your private location, like, i.e., they ignore it again, like they usually do with me. An email will be, well, provide what you're required to talk about, provide that evidence. And by the way, it is my right. I'll quote your human rights again. Sorry about the noise. I might set my alarm for me. Just remember about your rights again. Human rights. They just want to get rid of our human rights in the UK. Right, so again, the grounds, they'll be breaching your human rights. So the risk, well, put it this way, we live in unrepaired home. That is already, go back to this document, 19th of 12th, 2017, already made aware. And who's behind causing lack of the impact and quality of life. And now it's come to a serious situation affecting my health. So of course, I've not rejected the offer. I just rather have this Care Act assessment and statute law completed or properly done first. Then the email is being amended for me later, or tomorrow hopefully, and document, email, attached document kind of thing, that I shall offer a local hotel that has a local ground floor, a level access shower area, big enough room, and I could be there, okay, for X amount of time, and get it confirmed that I won't make myself intentionally homeless before, and then this housing company is responsible to funding for one's costs of that, cost of transport for my medical equipment there, cost of my food, and drinks, and out-of-pocket expenses. And if they still reject that offer, then what I read, well, my friend helped me download yesterday, is true, big time, massively and serious. And I can only update, but I don't get any response from that offer, because that will be co-copied into Northamptonshire County Council. They're calling it Catherine Ainshaw. She is the director in contract law. She never ever responds, and she's in dishonour. So the Northamptonshire County Council, they're called Care Management. Now I found 2 key females that work in a certain department called Transitions, but I think it's more to do with the youth rather than my age group. And so all along I was led to believe this assisted model living would be ideal, get housing with care on site, and it's not. It's not. I just can't believe it. It's not what all along. It's not that at all, because I was absolutely willing to just give it a break and start again. Do you know what I mean? There's too many bad memories. There's too much crap that's gone on here, and let them have this bloody place. At the end of the day, it's not giving in. It's just I need to have my health and try again. That's the channel name, trying again. And unfortunately, it's shock, really, absolutely disgusting to find out that this clause is targeting the most vulnerable in this Homeless Reduction Act 2017. I will try and get my friend to get my laptop out tomorrow, because the document needs to be done carefully. 2, actually 3. One is if you go onto Company's House or any check like that, you can back this up. You check it out for yourself. Olympics Care Services Limited, okay, and they have lose my voice again, scare with me. They are, every town and city has similar. Now this company, I have nothing against anyone working there, don't get me wrong. All these people, what they've harmed before, they're just going to get their just comments one day. But anyway, trying to move on. That's my motto, trying to move on. It's proving extremely impossible in there. The way is meant to be portrayed to help people in my position. And if I know what I know, and if I'm going through this, you think about how many people that don't know what the rights are and are being steamrolled along. There are We're all nice people I know of, and they can only do one element for me, help me with the PIP, PIP, because the social worker's not going, no interest in helping me at all. And she will not. She will just put it this way: I need to alert you if you don't know this already. If you might be experiencing this, or God forbid you ever come across this in your life, or anyone you might know, look at section 42 of the Statute Law Care Act 2014. It's on safeguarding. So if you're deemed vulnerable, excuse me, yeah, Karen, can you do that? Yeah, just tell me that. Yeah, thank you. I'm living on coffee to keep me awake. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Trying to do me a stew to keep my energy. What was I saying? Oh yeah, section 42, the Care Act 2014. Also, oh God, how do I put this? So no matter what, either way you go and trying to get your lawful rights upheld, there could be also men and women in private limited companies, public funded companies, will say, oh my God, you have to live like this, meaning the housing disrepair, because now it's affected into my hallway, the flooring, my kitchen, and uneven flooring. I dare not even mention about it to these powers that be, I call them, because they only want to take out this flooring. And that would be another disaster. Won't be our use of blinking kitchen then. The lounge part area, there's no point in investing in any expensive grants or lino covering at all. I mean, I was going to do this a while ago, but while it's not just the wet room black, just colour black as spade blackness. It's the mould raising off that wooden floor. My mate was trying to clean the area best she could yesterday in the daylight and saw like soot, that colour breaking off the wood flooring. And it's no wonder I'm so bloody ill. Every blinking day I'm in bed at the moment. 2 days, 4 days in bed out of 7 is not me. So I brought me some coffee to try and keep my energy going. And I don't drink coffee normally. That's how blinking ridiculous it is. So section 42 of the Statute Law Care Act 2014 means if that social worker or anyone in her job role, she already knows this, by the way. She's seen the photographs of Friday the 1st of June 2018, on the second meeting I had with her. I had a male I knew, and he was warned off not to help me. I can't say how and who, but I know how it's done. He sat in 2 meetings. The first was the 25th of May 2018, because all these months before that on my glands and my dental health was really, really bad. So I couldn't even talk, let alone meet anyone. Not once did I get offered, which you're meant to get offered, a home visit. I always wondered why. Now I know. But I didn't know what was entailed with this assessment process for the Care Act. If I'd known all this back on the 3rd of 10th 2017, I wouldn't have called them. I wouldn't have bothered. I don't know what I've done, but I wouldn't have called them. And it's been nothing but trouble. It's been nothing but heartache. It's been nothing but lies. It's been nothing but me having to keep rebuttal of non-factual attacks on my private life. Nothing but. And you have to have a strong character to keep going, because it does get to you. It just what the system just wants that and the vulnerable people, and I don't know. You don't have time to be ill. You don't have time to grieve. You don't have time to lose a loved one, you know. And it's just really they're deep down in these public servants. They do have a heart, I know, but I can see through people more than ever now. And this social worker, I know it's her people that she's having to work for that's putting the pressure on her. And it's both angles. She wants to push the case onto the long-term disability, whatever that is meant to be. And but I know two of these former public servants, well, they're still employed, but years ago, 2008, 2009, one was well, two of them, one female, one male, was the very people I won my case against, who caused, when I was able-bodied then, I had a knee op, didn't work, but I was able-bodied then in my old house. It was by a then called Start Team, and in short, what that is meant to look like now, and it wasn't like that then, is offer the first 5 to, I think it's 6 to 8 weeks free care in your own home. But what happened in my old home by certain individuals, I will not ever repeat online. It was worse than a nightmare you could ever imagine. And I had a 3-bedroom house at the time. And just put it this way, when you fall downstairs by someone doing something and they get covered up, and although I had won my case, as I said, and compensation did not cover for the psychological harm. And this is a very company still about, this is a very department still about that wants to offer me certain services. So you can imagine the trauma, so I'm affected by it all these years on. I cannot trust them. And that's the thing I'm trying to work on. And I know it might not be the same employees, but they could be management level by now. I just don't know. So this is why I was keen to get this Care Act assessment sorted out. So then you get, if one is deemed to meet their criteria in statute law, then you at least get a choice or a budget, and you can choose your own care company. And that's what I've been trying to do. And suddenly they put it on hold. So I'm not going to not consider the offer OT assessment, but I will not have it done in my home just yet. And the last time my mate did this letter for me, 28th of the 9th 2018 by email, a document by email. And notice to principal is notice to agent, and notice to agent is notice to principal. It's a certain terminology in contract law. And my goodness me, did I get bite back on this social worker? Did I get the biggest, nastiest comments, unprofessional, an email at 3:30 a.m, then one at early hours of the morning as well. And the comments, oh, she needs to be reported. But the trouble is, if I do that, I still won't get anywhere. And I have used in-house the County Council complaints procedure. Again, this is 3 times this year, and they all know each other. They work in the same area office, and they just protect each other. They're all close ranks. So I'm just being honourable. I'm just trying to be extremely careful. And as I said, the last offer will be this hotel. And okay, they want to assess me. It was alleged to be what you can and cannot do. Logically, you'll think, okay, well, when's the last time I had assessment? Okay, well, my physical needs not change in the equipment use of occupational therapy medical loan equipment, and that's funded by a different body. So in my area, it's named commissioning, CCG, and it's just England funded. So again, another task my friend's going to help me with tomorrow is to make a requirement of going down that road instead. And that is like, if you have a medical need, and your primary need is medical, which mine is, disability, then this is a national Department of Health UK statute law, and in every town and city, and there's more funding in that, and that's not means tested. So the assessment process might be more difficult, I don't know yet, but one is going to make an requirement on that, and that goes again, the letter to, well, the email will be to the certain department. You just send standard email to make inquiries to see who carries out those assessments. And I'm just going around in circles with it because I know what will happen again. Be very careful how all your data is linked up, how all this is linked up. And okay, so I'm just going to quote a computer software program. It might be different in every other town and city, but my area is called System 1. When I first found out what that computer program was, I was not surprised that I wasn't getting anywhere, and with anything actually, referrals, NHS, and anything. Well, 1st of June 2018, all of my private medical data since my life date of birth had been released at my medical practice about my private serious, and I mean serious stuff I never tell anybody about, and that got in the hands of the bloody public servants across the road. What on earth? So I went straight to the data, well, not to them, but the email went straight to data protection, to cease and desist. That means processing your private life data. Can only limit the data from what's relevant, and that's 2009, since I got one over. And so there's physical evidence of the physical disabilities, medically. And then obviously the trauma is from private, unfortunate mental health. So, post-traumatic stress is on the 10th of my life effect for permanent, and I live with that for years. It's nothing, it's just something you live with, and the compensation I wish I'm going to pursue to get the final payment for that, because that would help. I haven't wanted it for a while. I just see it's blood money for what someone did to me. He's not around now. He just went on to do awful stuff to other people, and he's locked up for life. And I just think, well, it's there in the public purse somewhere, then I could do that check, and that will get me out away from everything. You know, it won't happen overnight, but it's one way to seek payment, and that will mean to stop on all benefits, because that would be just over the 16 grand limit on our benefits, and well, so be it. And they're already making me jump through loops and hoops like those other people like me, and if I get that, then I can hire a company, get my own OTs in, you know, independent. Yeah, private. When you're paying independent companies, they will, when they're being paid, they will have to do their duty of care, you know, and it's not state funded. So I'm looking at all options. I don't think the latter one, what I'm talking about, will get here as quick as what the other stuff is going on. But say if I do eventually get it, then if I am in the state system, whatever it might look like, then they'll think, oh, you need to pay towards such and such. Well, if that's the case, then provide me bloody blinking proper care services then. It'd be a different ball game, but unfortunately at the moment I'm not in that position right now. So I'm just covering the angles of my personal experience. If it helps anybody to avoid, unfortunately you can't avoid everything in life, but avoid the pitfalls, what to look out for, what to study, what to just watch videos perhaps if you're more one visual than reading, because your health doesn't permit, you know. I have to think about winter, like anybody in my position. It is impossible to live here when it's winter, where the way it is unrepaired, let alone the level is ground level, is lower level to street level outside. So when it snows, it's impossible. And with the insecurity or the benefit changes you see coming, oh, that's another view in abroad, that is called universal credit. So I can't, unfortunately, it's easier said than done, but I can't worry about the future. It's not happened yet, but I can't help but not worry, because if I had finance, I would put all my belongings by now in storage and just had the bare minimum left here. So on the day when these puppet owners will say, if I offer them my house, oh, you've got to move straight away. You see, you don't realise, well, you might if you experienced this already. I have. 2012, this is what happens, and it's now worse. I'm not being negative, but this is reality because there's no funding around. Okay, so what, at least I know things now, and that's a positive in a way, because I know what to look for now, what to be aware of. And as before, I didn't. I got blackmailed. It's a harsh word. Well, I've got documents still to prove it by a public servant before, and I got displaced horrendously. It's a bit like you're not detained in the mental health. I'm never ever. Statute law on that one. I've always been open and frank and got nothing to hide, but be aware, they want to come up with things, they will come up with things. And that was a care company went bust on me, and I didn't have any care, and they claim in the emergency situation, you've got personal care needs, you have to go wherever there's a room in any environment. And I ended up in a place called Elise. No disrespect to the private owners that might still be around, might not be, but I couldn't even get my wheelchair in the room. There was no wash basin, none of my aids, and I had to share a toilet commode, and I got infected. Sorry about the noise. Oh, hi. Oh, sorry, I'm talking to myself there. Sorry, I'm just reading your comment, friendly. I am disabled with months problems and home. If I can help you, let me just read your comment again. Sorry. I'm not very good at holding this phone, so bear with me. I'm not very good at understanding things sometimes, except cats and bikes. What rights do I have and any know this? Okay, Freddie, is that Freddie? Are you a male, female? Whatever. Are you based in the United Kingdom? Or are you based, if you can answer that, that'd be helpful. And then I can give you some websites or watch some videos. I'll check if you've got any content online, and I can actually message you. Okay, fine. If your type of disabilities, if you don't have to be public on this format, obviously for personal reasons, that's fine. I can alert you to what I know. I'm not expert, but if I got myself sorted out, my position, then my aim was to set up a free service to help others like me who don't know what the lawful rights are. I don't know everything, but I study contract law. Bone disorder, okay. So are you limited in all your body functions, or do you have use of certain parts of your body? And can you walk? That's the next question. If you don't want to answer, that's fine. That's your personal right. And data protection wise, just be aware on YouTube, do not put anything that you're not happy to put, okay? And my friend will look at your channel, and if you've got any content on that or something on that, well, I'll leave a link for you where there's a couple of really helpful links. Walking, not always, okay. So do you have walking aids? So do you have like a walker? Do you have crutches? Or do you have to rely on physical help to aid your walking? Because I know too well, when you start being able-bodied, you have an operation, doesn't work. Yes, I've got a bone, well, I don't have a bone now. Well, they cut a bit of my left hand, so my knee, and it didn't work in an operation. So that started my deterioration in my physical health until I got one over. So I can totally relate on the bone side. My spine, well, I'm a bit of a complex. Spine on the neck, I've learnt a lot about. I used to give you a bit of background if it helps. I've done natural health remedies for years before I become disabled, and I trained in reflexology. I did a lot of this natural healing with the nerves of the head. So if you ever go on search for your condition online on like natural health, and you know about medications for pain relief, I'm sure, and the side effects of medications if you're on them, and I'm on so many, the side effects of drowsiness is unreal. And it does affect every day. The only reason when you have a fall, that's even more dangerous for your situation. So I don't know what area you're in UK. I might have a falls prevention service. There's all these cutbacks in various services, so it is like a postcode lottery, depending what's available. I've had to research, literally find energy to research what is available for disabled people, because we're not being told. They're just cutting everything. Now, I don't know if you're Newbury. Oh, that's a lovely place. That's near the coast, is it? Or in the Midlands? Always. Okay. Well, let me just. Yes. Yeah. You come in. All right, Sarah. Thanks for coming in. My carers are here, so I'm going to make a note and put some links for you. Just going to find something to write with. Okay. So Newbury. There might be in your, if you don't have this already, but I think it would be very helpful if you go and check the website out. And I don't know if your my condition is rare underlying muscle syndrome. Yep, absolutely. I relate to you on that one. Mine is from, gosh, how long ago? 2011. I saw a specialist in London, a 5-day stay ward, and they didn't diagnose me at hospital. Not got one over of my head injury, my spine injury, the disc in the spine, the right shoulder, this is just one thing after another. So I didn't know that why I was keep getting these signs of strokes. They're called TAs, minor mini ones. And if the wording is not done on the NHS paperwork and statute law, then it's not a stroke. And I found that out again when I ended up in hospital this year and last year. Now the biggest one, what got me thinking and learning about everything more, was when I suddenly was streaming to my daughter-in-law on Facebook, and I was fine. I wasn't as ill like this then, and as I am unfortunately now. Sometimes it's trying to have a sense of humour is challenging, and so when 1 minute you're talking, you're hoisted, I'm hoisted, so I can't walk, and that's another complicated thing. It is really complicated when you're looking at your life and you don't want to face it. It's hard to cope when there's all these different angles going on, and it can seem overwhelming, and that can easily get you down. And in my area is the first for the whole of UK to cut back adult social health care. So I had to learn the hard way. in the middle of being offered services. So when September, I remember the date, 26th of 9th, 2017, I suddenly lost my good right side. Couldn't move my body at all in bed. Good job I was in bed. And I had this like major stroke, the jaw, the heart. My right side went, I couldn't move, couldn't ring for help. And if I hadn't been live streaming, my daughter-in-law, South UK and Sussex area, she'd rang 999 in her area. The call was transferred up to my area, and next thing I can remember, because it's still streaming live, my daughter-in-law was witnessing everything and keeping them up to date online or on the phone or whatever she's doing. And they, police with a baton, can you imagine a massive baton that you might see on TV sometimes? They bashed in my flat door. I live in a block where they have to get into the main entrance, where I found out eventually one of my neighbours that the police in, sorry about the noise. And then next thing I know, there's about 4 ambulance crew in my bedroom, men, and it freaked me out, saying, what the hell? Well, I couldn't speak, I lost my speech, and it's all streaming live, but the police didn't come in, thank God, because they have body cameras on them now. They just let the ambulance crew in. And so one of my disabilities is anxiety. So they did the CCGs, what they call them, the heart tests on you. And eventually, cut long story short, the sheet they did on me, the printout, oops, I pressed a button and I don't know what I've done. I apologise there, I do not know what happened there. My phone just went dead on me. Your condition is underlining. So, okay. So, cut long story short, go back on there. Yeah, I found out, I went to hospital last year in that emergency situation. I didn't know, I was still streaming for 4 days on my laptop at home when I wasn't here. So the effect of the disrepair, when I was in hospital, I witnessed a lot of changes. I witnessed the NHS side of things. There isn't a lot of training, depending who you get. I don't know. I mean, I was on a women's ward, so for men, I don't know what it's like. But when I ended up again recently in hospital for another issue, I experienced a lot of changes going on, the cutbacks, and I thought, gosh, if the NHS side has experienced this, that's why there's cutbacks in this housing side, connection with the adult care side, disability rights. Where's the what? Depending actually, what in my area it is 2 left. You got the Citizens Advice, and then there's quite a few, I suppose. They call themselves charities, but then again, it depends if you meet that remit. It should everybody in United Kingdom who's whatever your disability, and you do not have your friends and you do not have your family, this information should be free at the point of delivery and accessible. And that's the biggest thing that in my area they're going down on, lack of, is the disability rights, the advocacy rights, because how it works and funding, the contracts, it's never informed. You're never informed unless you have a relative or you're able to speak up yourself, or the red tape is so big, I'm wrapped up in it, so to speak. It's not just one thing when you're disabled, is it? You're accounting for your health, your diet, medication, your housing, you're dealing with your whatever services you offer. So NHS England funds your pharmacists, funds your opticians, funds your CCG, which usually will fund if you've got aids and equipment, in my area, it's a national healthcare company, private one called Millbrook Healthcare, and so conditioning is like another contracted, funded, NHS funded group on behalf of NHS England again, who has a budget of funding to fund for services. Now, that's where the Better Healthcare Fund comes in. So, if you have a bone disability, your condition is rare, you, depending on your area, every area has their own remit and policy for Better Healthcare Fund implementation. So in one's area, for example, I have to look into it myself for you if you like, when my help is in a stable situation, with my friend's help, is to see what location or CCG, that's clinical conditioning group. So Newbury CCG conditioning group, it would be like Google it, or if you're using special technology for aiding your disability, that's I'm eventually going to need for speech when I get my operation, whenever that will be. And that again will be, my aim and game in all of this, if I get through all this, is to help a lot of people for free and online to talk through the basic simple things, keep it basic and simple. So my knowledge of contract law, the knowledge of statutory law, and your basic human rights, well, we've all got them, but how everyone's different, and to have a place that's not a charity that you can just sign in, whether you're family with kids with disability. There's so many disabled websites and very useful ones, so I'm going to just quote a couple. You got www.disabilityrights.org, okay, and you got disability law, I think that is .org. I might be wrong, but you can Google it to get the website. And you've got also a very well-known campaign group, well, it's well-known nationally, and it's called Disabled People Against Cuts, DPAC. So look in your area if you have a group set up in your area, and it's always useful to link up if you have a Facebook group in your area, if you've tried that. I find sometimes with Facebook groups, I mean, not everyone is a similar position. I'm coming from the angle where people haven't got friends to rely on or understand them, who haven't got the family that's got time for them, or haven't got any next of kin, and they're totally reliant on the state, and they totally feel cut off and reliant on the system. Now, please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying everyone that works in the system is like this. I'm just bad luck in my area, falling upon the ones I'm dealing with. So you might be extremely lucky to have public servants in the job role that I'm doing what I'm meant to do to aid disabled people. But I'm just giving you awareness, that is what's going on about if you're needing to rent. Statutory law side of it, housing, social housing it's called. In contract law, it's known as you're signing a document, and your signatory creates that contract with that representative on behalf of whatever company. So public funded means that council tax and taxes and statutory law pays for the public services. So county council, borough council, NHS, right. And that's public funded companies. When we're looking at contracts on the private contract side. Sorry about the noise. This phone is too noisy. Let me just read that. The social services wrote a letter to the West Brights Council to assist me, and all they offer is a hostel. What? I've been attacked before, stabbed, hot water thrown on you. So not good with places like that. I'm not so damn surprised. That is unlawful. No, that is West Brights Council. Is that your location? Is that nearest to you? So, right, you need to see if there is a house manager. What they call it. Did you have a Care Act assessment under the Care Act 2014 under your housing needs? Because, and And did you get also a care plan? And did you agree to that care plan? And if you want to answer, that's fine. If not, don't worry. I'll give you an email, you know, I'll link up to an email you want to email me. And I've got a separate email set up to help people that needed help. My mate set it up the other day. So, near Reading, right. I've heard about what they're doing to homeless people in Reading. Right, no. Let me just go back in a couple of comments what you said earlier. Right. Let me just go. Said you're disabled with problems and homeless. So basically, no. That's a breach of human rights. Absolutely. That's a breach of human rights. Okay, let me have a look at this. No, I was in foster care and they left me homeless. No help. Okay, if you don't mind me asking. I mean, was that years ago? Was that recently? They should, no, they have a duty of care. Leaving care, social work, that there are certain policies, national statute law in UK, not one public servant, doesn't matter what council it is, cannot leave any leaving care. You know, they have a duty of care to make sure you're settled in like a flat to meet, especially with your disability, with your physical disabilities as well. Don't even get me started how this must be affecting your psychological well-being. So 1996, okay, so that time period is gone, but still that affects you. So, my God, how many, let me just count. So, okay, 1996, that, my goodness me, okay, well, they do things differently now. Jesus. How on earth have you been surviving with your disabilities, being homeless since 1996 because of their negligence? You still got a claim for foster care. Depending on the statutory limit on bringing a claim on against that county council and being in foster care. So I take it you were 17 or 18 when they... Yes, I thought so. Right, I thought so. Okay. I don't know if you listen to... Are you actually still right now homeless? You're using your phone? Are you in a bed rest or temporary accommodation right now? Is that all they offered you? And is anything accessible? Do you have accessible toilet? Okay. No, that's fine. I got the gist of what you're saying on the day, Freddie. Okay. Have you able to check out a website called Disabled Go, www.disabledgo. I think it again is co.uk, but just Google it, Disabled Go. Yes, homeless, free Wi-Fi. Right, so you go to the hotspots, sorry. Oh, I'm going to laugh at me, I tell you. Oh my God, that's not a way to go. So they're treating you as a single adult, right? So you haven't made yourself intentionally homeless. They can't use that excuse. So you have... Okay, right. So they claim to wash your hands of their responsibility all those years ago. So you've just had to find wherever there's a place. So did you ever try and get on any housing list in your area or wherever because your location at the time in 1998, yeah, and that foster the county council then, social services should have made sure that you had a secure tenure housing to go into, and if not, a living accommodation for specific needs. And as you're saying they did not, then you got a claim. I don't know what the time level to bring a claim against them is at the moment. might be long gone. But in the meantime, have you moved around UK? Did you sleep on people's beds? Are you always being, unfortunately, out in the streets? You have been housed, but partner left and I ended up in hospital. And while I was going to respite, they took the place. No, 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 my God. That is not a bloody partner that you want anything to do with. No disrespect to that individual, but that should never, ever, ever happen. That's the worst time. You need your support around you when you're in hospital. And okay, right. So depending on the time you were in the respite placement for, okay, and depending, let me just read this a minute, you just put, and bit of them, yeah. I have been housed but partner left. I ended up in hospital, and while I was getting respite, they took the place off me. Bit of all them things. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Right. The key bit is, was your partner, sorry about the noise, someone's, the key bit here then is, did your partner pay for, were they on the tenancy? Was it a private rent or house association or council? And if they were paying for the rent, no, they sent me to my friend's house after hospital. Bloody hell. So if let's just stick to your comment at the bottom. One of them where it says your partner had left and you end up in hospital, and then you went to respite, and they took the place off you. Depending on if your partner had, if it's a joint tenancy, they can't do that. If the partner only had it in their name of the place you're renting, housing association run by, okay, well they have, was it in joint names of the city, or was it just in your partner's name? And was it just for 6 months? And depending how long you're in respite for, because if you're in respite longer than 8 weeks, then if you're claiming housing benefit, then that side, let me just read what you just put. No, it was in my name. Right, okay, so breach. Okay. They had a duty to rehouse you. They should have never took it off you. Okay, do you remember how long you're in a respite for? While you're in hospital? You know, from hospital. So, all depending how long you're in the respite for, they can't take your property off you. No house association, United Kingdom that is a breach of the. I'll go back to it. That is in breach of. Let me get the house association for that. Depending how long you were in respite for. 3 months, right? Okay, that's where they got you. That's where they got you. Did you ever receive any paperwork while you're in respite to give you what they call it, Section 21 notice to quit, because up until 8 weeks you're in a respite, your housing benefit gets paid for. Okay, somebody within the social services in the respite environment, and they're paying for that respite care, the social services, I believe, unless it's linked up with the NHS, should have informed you, they have a duty of care, that you have up to 8 weeks, and after 8 weeks to inform the housing benefit that you're in respite for your medical disability needs, and they still have a duty of care to keep paying for the rent, and to inform the house association. Now, if they didn't, then it's a house association responsibility. I just had it just a minute ago. Under the I just had it a minute ago, didn't I? Let me just read it. As a secure, right, okay, so do you know if you had a secure tender? What secure tender means is longer than offer of 6 months. So you've been in that premises for the housing tenancy is for a secure tender. So once you had a starter tenancy for 1 year, it goes on to secure, because otherwise then people have less rights than if it's just a 6 month starter or 1 year starter, what they're doing this past 2 years they've been doing this in UK. So anyone listening to this, if you're disabled, you're also being offered a respite, make it clear or get it in writing. If you're renting, work private, I don't know how it works with private, with house associations, the statute law, they have a duty of care to make sure and notify you in writing, or if you've got an email, make sure they can contact you by email. If you can't cope with phones, then they have a duty of care to let whether your placement, wherever you are, know, and they should inform you. Or if you've got an email, the house association, house employee, manager should inform you of the asset management, which is where they you pay your rent, the financial side, and they should inform you that if you're in respite for a longer period of time than 8 weeks, then it affects your housing. And that's what I found out in 2012. And that's why I had to fight tooth and nail to get in with a former lawyer and my former sister. And that's why they didn't like it, because they knew full well that I had to research this myself years ago. But I know things change and things are getting tighter now. So it all depends, Freddie, if you're still there listening. It all depends how long your tenancy is signed up for. If it's for a year and more at the time of your respite and your hospital admission, okay. If it's less than that, unfortunately, it should have been in the actual wording to make it clear how long your tenancy is for. Good God! But even so, I would suggest go on to the website www.disabilityrights.org and look out for the email if you're able to. My God. So you're right, currently now at the moment homeless. That's going to be difficult for you then. Right, you're going to have to keep warm in this winter at the moment, especially with your condition. And then also, if there's anywhere like a drop-in centre, more than 1 year, and I was with them. Right, that is a breach. Oh, that is definitely a breach. So, was that recent? That is, okay. So, did this happen recently, in the past, say, 4 months? So, they cannot do that. Right, under, here we go, under the, I don't know if you can save this video, I don't know if you can do that in your situation. Housing Act 1988 and 1989, Section 11, okay? Doctors stopped my medicine after 20 years on codeine. Yeah, codeine medication, that's addictive. I was on that. That happened in 2005. Sorry, the noise. Oh, hold on. I'm pressing the wrong button. 2000. Okay, you're out of limit to claim, unfortunately. You could have brought a claim on breach of the statute or housing duty of care and reference your disability. But because it's 2015, now it's 2018. You need to bring a claim within. I know it's ridiculous how the statute law works as well, but you can still. In your area, if you can find an area location that is specifically set up, so some like Look out for if there's a church organisation in your area. Jesus Army, forget about it being religious. Somewhere you can go have a wash and shower. They have any, apart from what I say here, this is just online. But if you physically got something in your local area, you can go in, have a shower, have a hot meal. And what is the system set up like in your area? Because I know what they're doing in my area. They're trying to close everything down, and they're making it much more difficult. So they stopped your medication, my God, right? Depending on the medication, why they stopped it, or codeine is another one. Have you still got a GP? Have you still got a doctor? Because you should be able to still access, despite being homeless. There should be a system in your area where you can still access services that you need it, and that's your human rights. Here's depending on the other painkiller to put on your bones, especially papageddon. Have you heard of that? Papageddon is a strong pain, is a nerve pain relief if you've got bone disability, and it's also, you've got naloxone, Naproxen, and that's like a anti-inflammatory as well as a pain relief. But also, because obviously you might be limited income, anyone out there hasn't tried natural herb, as it's known as cat claw, or that's like an anti-inflammatory. But also you got a B12 complex. You can get it in food. The food you'll find this in is broccoli. I hate broccoli, but it's useful. Bananas, simple banana, you can get your vitamin D in. Okay, got one in front of me, I need to eat in a minute. And that might help with your bones. Right, coldness, I don't know how you sleep if you're homeless right now. Good, good, good. Right, someone looks after my 2 cats, and good. And I want to go and do the best with them. Of course you do. Newbie is just as bad. Yeah, it's happening everywhere. Just better to the doctor. Good. Right. Once you're in with their system, which I hate the way they do it, but this is going to get you back into the system to get the right help you need. Okay? Then when you're in with the doctor, you should be able to get a medical review of your personal situation, your health. Okay, then they're meant to have in-house, depending on the GP surgery. It's NHS England funded, don't forget, and still covers Newbury area. Right, let me go into this. Then they offer me morphine patches, which I refuse. They change their minds. Sorry about the phone. Let me just go into this again. Yeah, Sarah, can you do that for me? Thanks. Sorry. Then they refused, and they changed their mind and put me on Tidemore. Okay, right. Do they work, those tablets? Because I'm on the same. Let me have a look on my list. Depending what are you on the 50 mg size tablets, and depending how many times you take them a day, and they can make you sleepy, so you don't take alcohol. Ah, right. Yeah, okay, so you have a bike, sleeping bag, right. You find resources, don't you, where to be safe at the moment, yeah? Medical review, sorry, just writing notes low to read back on. That's fine, just take your time. No, I've not had med since... What? You've not had any medication since 2005? Oh, no alcohol, my goodness me. My hat off to you. You are absolutely... I don't know how you're coping. I really don't. My hat off to you. Well done. Keep going. You'll get there. You'll get there. You can always, message me on this channel if you got any further information as well to aid you. Yeah, I don't do alcohol either, because you need to be streetwise, don't you? Obviously, you need to be looking after your health. And as I said, if there's a local area that does, where you have showers and hot meals for free, like a church environment, church sometimes lay on these free supportive services for homeless people as well. My area, like anywhere, is not brilliant, but I know they do things like that. I'm coming from the point of view to not be homeless in my position at the moment, and my needs are extremely high, unfortunately, the medical stuff. Yeah. Okay. It's very helpful to check out, just to keep it very basic at the moment for you then, and anybody else might listen to this. Go on www.disabilityrights.org, and then you got also, that's the first one I would definitely suggest, and it might have some information to point you out. I know some information, not expert in everything. Then you got your disability, I said disability law. There's a disability law website. Now, they don't offer, they offer advice on the phone or email, but might be difficult in your situation. But they have some useful information, resources. But I think sometimes, unless you live it and you hear from people going through it, and can give you first-hand knowledge of what is really going on, then I think it's more useful. But if your credit might run out, especially if you're homeless, or you're using free Wi-Fi location, it might be better for you. With a free Wi-Fi in the public where you might be, just watch your security and your device you're using, because you don't know if you get the bugs or hack your phone. So that's my personal opinion anyway. Alright, so you now got a GP. Okay, write this down if you're able to. You're welcome. Absolutely. I just only know too well I don't know what it's like to be on the streets like yourself, but I only know too well what it's like to go through a lot and struggling. So absolutely no problem. And I think more people help each other out, the better. Just make a note of this. If you've seen the GP about you'd like an assessment under the Better Care Fund, okay? More like PPL stealing my phone. What? How can sick people, bloody hell, steal your bloody devices, your belongings? That's what gets me, right? People, I see these so-called people think they're, oh, I've got everything, and I've got the latest phones. People don't realise when they're going to end up getting ill themselves, or lose their homes, or lose their jobs. And then these so-called people have just buried their head in telly, and they just got no conscience whatsoever of messing about with people's lives, and they're going to steal their belongings. I've seen a couple of people like this in my area, and I said I've got old, these old analog phones, and my adult son years ago said to me, you might as well give them to the antique shop. But I always said to one guy once, I said, if I can, trouble is when you're homeless, how do you charge a phone? So I said to this guy once, can't remember now how long ago, I said, I'll give you one of my analog phones, and if I got a spare $5, I'll top it up for you. And so he's got us on to contact. But I'm not sure how these charity works, how these religious places works, that might offer services a bit more like that. I know it's less in my area, and the funding is getting reduced. So it's about ordinary people helping each other out. Yeah. And okay, so when I made the assessment on the subject of Better Care Fund, so it's under the NHS England. So in your area, Newbury, CCG. Okay, so when you Google it, you put your town where you are and you're registered with that GP. So you put in Better Healthcare Fund and look for your area CC. Hold on, let me get that spelling right. Sorry about the noise. Right. My area is like Commission. I have to spell it now. Neen Commissioning. Right. That's what it will be called in your every town and city, UK. So in your area, it'd be Newbury. Yeah, I would have thought it'd be Newbury. See, Commissioning Group. That's what it's called. So it will be Newbury Commissioning Group. Now, don't hold me to that. Just do a Google search, or just go on Newbury and type in Newbury CCG. So that's what it means. It means a commissioning group, and that is commissioning NHS services, and that is commissioning NHS England, which is part of the Better Care Fund, to get an assessment on your medical needs on a medical need ground. They have a strict remit policy though. I mean, that's NHS England for you. But you'll be classed as this in their system as a vulnerable adult. Yeah. Just see if that comes up in a search, and then look at what vulnerable adult means. Alright? Vulnerable adult, because that's what you'll be deemed as with your disability and being homeless, okay? And that when you're in with a GP and you're registered, that gets you access, right? They have a duty of care then, because the medical practices are funded by the same NHS England, NHS funded, okay? Public services. And that gets you in the doorway, so to speak, to get referrals to by the GP to your commissioning, NHS commissioning group, to get to see if you meet one of their criteria. If you don't, then you can try to, again, be aware of your county councils. I don't know how it works for men, or I don't know how it works for my situation, but you might be also deemed vulnerable in the eyes of the county council. They have a duty of care, because every town and city is national policy now with this statute laws that I'm reading up on. That's what Head of the Stream has, is homeless reduction at 2017, and in that section you look at, well, you might not be able to look at it because obviously it's quite a big document to download. You might not have enough data, but if you want got enough storage on your phone or your device, you can look at the section where it says about housing of disabled people. So that is your key for anyone that's homeless or anyone that's disabled, is having that GP. I don't like mine because the way they work, but that's a different story. It's very key to get into access services, especially with your medical and disability condition, and especially with your history, what you mentioned, for anyone. So obviously your medical notes are stored with, and if you don't make a note of this, I believe it could be covering your area too. So, getting all these noises now. Right. This is where your medical notes might be, if you're not sure. It will be with your history. So it will be Capita. So it's CAPITIA. Capita has a contract by NHS England to store for England, obviously, men and women's medical data on behalf. It's been since May 2018, this is, by the way. Yeah, that's it, that's the one. And they are a company, a software company, that works for the NHS England contract to store people's medical data on the computer system, head offices and Leeds. And they also have a contract for the Department of Works and Pensions that are dealing with all these medical benefits. So universal credits, the PIP, personal independence. So if you haven't already been able to claim any benefits, or haven't had an address, or unless there is a local charity service that you can have a of address, that means that your post can go to that location. And I know there's one area in my area that a couple of homeless people told me about, but unless you have a trusted friend or family to have your post. So I know there is a policy with DWP nationally for homeless people to have their entitlement, their benefits into a specific account. So it's a postal account as well. So your doorway in, or anyone's doorway in, is the medical side. For disabled people is, I wish I didn't know all this. I know too much information sometimes. If it helps, it helps. If it doesn't help, then that's that. I haven't done no harm, I hope. It's just an opinion. It's not an advice. I'm just giving an opinion of what I've gone through and what I've been through for so long. And from my knowledge, it might, obviously it keeps changing. So if this helps anybody. Yes, the person who looks after my cats. Great. That's good. And I love cats. What kind are they? They're black and white? Are they like... I used to have two beautiful black ones. They had to get rehomed in the end, unfortunately. So I've just got to keep an eye on the time. My friends are taking over in a minute. My personal... This is the thing with care. Right, we're going on to the subject of care now, okay? For disabled people. 9 o'clock, just want to keep an eye on the time. Right. You got a GP. I'm going to talk next stage. Generally. Oh, lovely. My old cat used to be called Snoopy, a black and white one, until a bloody car won it over. I don't have any animals because I can't self-care, so I can't care for them anymore. Got me homed. I miss them. And I used to have somebody that looked after them years ago, and she wouldn't give them back. It was evil. Very evil. They're a part of me. Always love animals. Dogs, cats, nature. Always love them. Yeah, so obviously, when I had to move from my old house years ago, my late mum, before she passed away, she took her when I was in a temporary. Yeah, I know, it's sad. When my old house I had, before I went over myself, I had cats there, and I was in a temporary accommodation, so I know what it's like, really. I mean, that side of it. It didn't meet my needs, and the housing then was just the same. Well, it's got worse now, but it was really difficult there. So my mum looked after my cats. She went up on a scooter, bless her heart, at the time, and fed them for me. And then before I accepted this place all them years ago, 8 years now, only condition that I'd be able to keep my 2 cats. So within a year, I moved here in the beginning of February 2009, well, September actually. By the end of that year, I get to a neighbour, and they didn't x-ray the rest of my body, what was wrong with it. I didn't find that out till the year after. By, 2010-11, I had nasty neighbours. Oh, so many, I can't even count. Some of them are gone now. And they hated cats. And they made up fake complaints about my cats. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's fine. Just make sure the window's thanks there. Yeah, and so I tried to get them back, and my late mum helped. Went in a specialist taxi with my wheelchair at the time, And yeah, that woman refused to give them back. Tried everything, so I lost my 2 cats. And it was a time when I was in that hospital, and she said, "Oh, I'll temporarily look after them for you." Yeah, yeah, that's it. Absolutely. The nature, you know, with my experience all these years with animals and with cats especially, and even as a young girl, I always love the beautiful, just their sense of purring. They just sense if you feel down. They are such sensitive souls in the characters. I mean, yeah. Can you get that? Hold on. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So yeah, with the care right. So when you're being offered, or if offered, hopefully it'd be different to my area, but yeah, they are, aren't they, animals? So hopefully you'll get a better result. You might get well, let's hope you do get a really good result for yourself, where you are with what you've gone through. I mean, it's absolutely unlawful what they're doing, and that's what I'm trying to prevent in a lawful due process. It's not things to happen the way they're trying. So when I found, this is why my friend helps do the research, and it's frustrating when I have a lot of bad days and bedridden all the time. So it's carefully read whatever you're signing up now. You're absolutely welcome. I think knowledge is key. I think it is absolutely should be free to everybody that needs it, do you know? And I think more people that have a human impact just care, you know? And not just, you know, we can't always, I've always been like this, really, in a sense, right? If I can't do much myself in the way I'd like to, and the system, the way it's going, at least I could share a little bit of knowledge that I've known and know about. And while I still can, and there will be a time soon where I won't be able to, well, no, I won't have access to the internet and stuff. But as I say, you can't. It's frustrating with me anyway. My brain is like to run before it can walk. If you'd get my drift. But seriously, when you're dealing with just public servants and the job role and just like robots, the implied comments and presumptions are always jumping down and just can't even list all the things that certain individuals are doing. And I know they know I know certain information only because I was self-taught. As soon as they displaced me from my home and this other care place, I ended up in respite, and where they didn't have my aids, and they didn't tell me that it was a rehabilitation type environment, and they didn't say I was going to be reassessed by occupational therapists, and let alone anything else that went on. And that's when I had to find a community care lawyer at the time, a statute law, and that's when my sister at the time, who she doesn't want to speak to me now, but at the time, a while ago, she was helpful, and my old lawyer to get me home. And that is when this care company, this one that's taken monopoly over this area and everything, day centres. I'm not knocking the company now, no, it's just how they do things. Have they changed? Is it any better? It's not the company I consent to do a contract with, yeah? And these are certain individuals, occupational therapists, that are still pushing on me. And how do you get a psychological effect of that? And so I'm trying to get the right balance. So if they reject my offer, i.e. this temporary location, the housing rejects it as well, then I'm going to be in that position where it's all going to be an awfully forced upon one. And knowing that there isn't going to be a better system. Trying to do the word prevention is about trying to assist the disabled people, but they don't help us with the knowledge. Well, here's this information, but come on, look, if you be careful about anyone else listening to this. If you get offered Statutory Care Act 2014 assessment procedures, national statutory law, just make sure that these individuals who offer that service is going to be vulnerable as well, offer an advocate service. Go and check out a website. I just know my area, how they're funded, and they deliberately didn't do anything for me in the way they should have done. It's called Voice Ability. It might be different areas and call something else in different parts of the country, but it's for Care Act 2014 statute law. There is the duty of care in your county council, care management, to offer vulnerable people, if you don't have a friend or family, to assist you in that process, to a care advocate, to assist you in your lawful rights in that process. And be aware of a document. They deliberately done this to me. I had 40 pages printout document they called it a B9 or something, Care Act assessment. And I couldn't even read the questions. They're too small, the print, let alone comprehend all the wording. And there's half of it I'm still not able to. And on their website, it absolutely says they're meant to, in a duty, equality duty, and disability reasonable adjustments, to provide accessible documentation. But in their eyes, in the public sector eyes, employees, if you don't have in their definition, terminology, learning disability, they won't provide you anything accessible. And then you're going to have to be, well, you don't have to, but you're just going to be offered question after question after question, and it's very in-depth if you get offered a full one-to-one. If you're complex needs, a one-to-one Care Act assessment process, and that is the questions. I would warn anyone out there, if you already got other disabilities and it's not obvious to that social worker, she or he may not be medically trained, be aware of that, and may not be experienced in the areas of disabilities diagnoses you have. They go on heavy on diagnosis. So if you have borderline diagnosis, if you don't have anything written in stone in their terminology, well, be prepared to try and see if you have eventually a doctor will be able to back up to get your records, because I've had to do that. She didn't like it, the social worker, that I found the evidence of me being run over, the diagnosis, and this is from 2010. She said it wasn't on my medical notes. Oh, it's just hilarious. I mean, I have to laugh sometimes because all the shite that this certain individual comes out with. I'm not an expert, I'm not trained in her university. I don't think you need to go to university and all these posh education establishments to have knowledge. And knowledge should be free. It's life. Life is knowledge. You know, when you live it, like you're saying, when you're on the streets, when you're going through shit like I am, you're living life, and that's knowledge. And you learn things. Sometimes, you know, it takes forever to get through a situation. But when these individuals think they're any better than you, they're not. And don't ever let them think that they are, because they're not. They're just men and women in their public role, in their job role, and they have to serve the public. That's what they're bloody paid for. And when they don't, they are in breach of their office of duty of care. And when you do try and take them on, lawful due process, by the way, always try and be honourable and lawful. It's no good losing your rag with these people. You'll just blatantly be washed off, be disregarded. And it's biting your tongue is the worst thing you can do, I tell you. And it's very difficult to keep calm, very difficult to keep polite, even though you don't feel like it, after being treated like a piece of you-know-what. And I've had this so many times in ways I can't even explain. And it's totally abusive and lawful. So I go after CEO, I go after the man or the woman in charge of these services on the public side. And when they still ignore you, yeah, it is easy, absolutely easy for them to turn around in statute law to say, oh my gosh, you know, that individual has that problem. So if you're like come out and say certain words, it's all about the blocking the individual's freedom of speech now, isn't it? If you say anything against, well, I don't know what the subject could be, but you've got legit reasons why you're feeling the way you are. Anyone, you've got legit reasons why you're feeling so crap, and your health is, and your disabilities and your health, everything seems to come at once when you feel you're just getting somewhere. And the system is built like that, to crush those down. And then you're trying to figure a way out to be honourable, to be lawful, to work with certain individuals, and yet they make it 10 times worse to deliberately trigger you off. So it is very hard to learn to be calm within oneself, to look at just nature, to simple, basic, little things that matters at the moment when you're going through a lot. And that's my personal experience. You can imagine losing a loved one, you know, especially when you've got issues that's not resolved. And absolutely. And that sometimes, you see, when you're at the most vulnerable, and you're that's when your body reacts to the pain. Like today, if I had to listen to, sometimes you have to listen and be still for your own body and your own mind's sake, because when you're able to, but when you're in that flight mode and you have to be always on the alert, so to speak, whatever situation it might be, it's like then the state system, all that public servant will say, you have to do this, really authoritarian. You have to do this, you have to do that. And this is when I'll get bombarded by all these demands. Well, at the moment, no. Sometimes you have to switch your devices off, have that moment to yourself, work what's important first. I mean, it's easier said than done, I tell you, because I can say this from experience. I've tried this, and you only find your own way, what works. But when you're constantly know the bigger picture is all designed against us, unfortunately, us, I say, disabled men and women and their children, you know, parents of children as well, the elderly, it's all stuck up deliberately in the United Kingdom against us. And it's meant to be all these buzzwords you hear in the mainstream media. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to make it inclusive. All these buzzwords they're using. Don't ever bloody believe everything they say. Trust your own gut instinct, what's right for you. Because I can say whatever. I can back everything what I've been saying up today with evidence anyway, for these certain individuals I'm dealing with. But generally, you know, unless you live it, you know, like for example, you got an American system, it's all insurance. Yes, let me just, sorry, I wasn't reading. Yes, against us, I can behind the scenes a lot because I sit and watch and listen. That's the key. Body language, absolutely spot on. You got body language, you observe, your absolute best position, you're behind the scenes, and you're observing. And then you can go, when it's your right for your own situation, to judge, well not judge, but to suss out what you really need and listen to your own position. It's frustrating when you got the state saying no all the time. You can't do this, you have to do this, you have to do that. But who says? Who has the authority over you, the living, the man or the woman? These others are just in their job role, and they're just man and woman, aren't they? If you think about it, they're being paid by the public, right? So yeah, okay, you have to rely on the state system for your housing, your assistance to live when you're disabled. It's not your fault. Never ever feel that you're guilty for it. You know, the system's going digital anyway. So there's no such thing as monetary system per se, because they want to go digital currency anyway. So unless you've got the better handle on things, right, Freddie? Because you have street knowledge, you know how to survive on this is what I not admire them, but I say you've got skills. You have the skills. When you go through trauma, you go through disability illnesses, you live on the streets, you already got these basic skills to survive. So if the world does go upside down, yeah, and they definitely cut everything back. So people without any monetary system, any friends, family to help them out will go without. Well, at least you know what works and what won't. Because you look at it when you have to rely on, as you said before, use the public bush to use the loo. You know, that's nature. Yeah. So we're so conditioned. Have you ever thought about it? We're so conditioned to use the mainstream this, mainstream that. And I got rid of my telly years ago. Don't even blink and watch a crap. And I just go on what I know. It's frustrating because if I had my health and I was able to walk, I would have been on a blinking bus by now, working abroad. I've always said this for a long time. But how it works now, I have to have a good day to find that balance. And when the system, the state comes in with this DWP, the PIP assessment process, and you get the labels, and that's one thing. If you get a label by the mainstream medical industry, you get a label all the time, reliant on things that's taken or what we are supposed to be. Yes, we reliant on things. Yeah. You see about this, you observe people with their heads in their phones all the time, walking about, yeah? Do they ever look up to breathe? There was these three young lads walking past one time, and I just stopped on the way home, my wheelchair, and this random guy come up behind me. I mean, obviously not doing anything untoward, and he was a homeless chap. And he was so intelligent, and I've always got time to talk, public. Yeah, absolutely. And this individual was so intelligent and clued up, and was saying subjects I didn't even mention about, and I knew about, and he was coming out with things. And then these three lads, young lads, I just conscious because their age group, and I said, be careful. And we just mentioned about, oh, it's nice to see you haven't got your phones in your hand. And I said to there's one of the lads, I said, I think it's 14 or 15 in the public street, cameras everywhere, of course. And I said, did you ever talk to your mates at school? You know, I mean, do you ever, are they always on their phones, or do they text you to talk to you? And they would just laughed, and well, it's obvious. I said, do you ever leave? Well, obviously didn't have their devices. I said, are you always on computer games at home or whatever? He said, yeah. And so I just like thought of my older son, now an adult, when he was younger. And I said, do you ever think what you're playing or what's actually these games are about? A lot of them are violent stuff, and a lot of these the designers of the movies or games, whatever, but the theory behind a lot of the technology now is all about what, you know, doesn't make people think, just wants them glued to their technology and don't want them to have the freedom of their own minds to think for themselves. And so will they have the skills if they suddenly lost mainstream electric, mainstream gas, mainstream way of living? Would they cope if they had to be homeless, if they lost their job, if they lost their home and they got ill? Would they be able to cope? Doubt it. So that's how I always look at it. I just count the blessings that we do have, you know. I mean, life is how, okay, we get bad dealt, what's the word I'm looking for? We get dealt with a certain hand of life in situations that is not of our doing, and most would be lost. Absolutely, Freddie. Absolutely. Absolutely. You just observe it. And I see this in certain public servants, right, in their job. And I know some of them means well, but their caseloads are extremely high because of the funding cutbacks. So as I said at the start of the stream of today, it's all about how they're pushing me out of my home for 8 years, my wheelchair, my high medical needs, but I know they can't do that just like that lawfully. That's why they're trying to go about a different way. This housing company are doing it. Not the housing company, the employees. And they've been doing this for years. I mean, the amount of blinking paperwork, I mean, I've got documents now saved. But the bombardment on my birthday of a social worker with emails and texts knowing it's my birthday 2 weeks ago. I mean, my friends are with me. We went somewhere nice. I used to work years ago, and they just couldn't believe it. That what? She has the audacity to blinking well harass you on your blinking birthday. Don't you give it a day rest? And then when they saw a 3:30 a.m. email by a social worker, what on earth is that about? And that is unlawful, by the way. That is not a delay of getting an email in technology wise. It was done out of spite because I didn't consent to anything in my home at the moment, because I knew what they were doing and that are still doing. So as I said today, there was a text. Come on, I'm not going to respond to a text on a work phone. Email, paper trail. Always remember this if you're able to. Always have a paper trail. So thank goodness my mate found the old emails still kept on. She's more clued up in technology than I, and found some old emails that can relate back to why it's unsafe for any public servant in my home to do. They originally put it this way: to assess me, i.e. my body and my transferring and my personal care needs, and the way my private life friends unpaid for caring for me at the moment, and before I knew about the massive cutbacks going on. Oh my gosh, that email content was absolutely so unprofessional. I won't repeat on like this, but just put it this way: she's actually breached her code of conduct in the Healthcare Professional Council, or whether it's medical, so healthcare, anyone working in the healthcare industry in the UK, they have to have their registration in that council and statute law. And I could report her, but the way, one time, I'll give you one time, 15th of June, I just heard my mum was dying, right? And so she was harassing me again, and I couldn't see the pattern what she was doing at the time, and then I was trying to call her out of quickness and plight and trying to say, well, look, I've got this medical evidence I found, you're claiming you haven't got this, that and the other again. And then she just come up with a quote that I don't have any physical disabilities, and my jaw just dropped, absolutely dumbfounded and shocked, and my mate was standing next to me. And she heard everything, and she said she's actually caused disability discrimination massive. You could take her to court for that. Yeah, that's a social worker. So I'm emotional, bad day. So of course my trauma kicks in. I'm having a meltdown because of that. I'm calling up my GP, being a bloke. Oh my goodness me, it was embarrassing. And I'm like really absolutely traumatized. Absolutely. And I repeat what she said to me on the phone. And the guy, the GP on the phone, was absolutely went silent. And he was shocked himself and said she never said that. She should have never, ever, ever said that. And they had to rush down over to me this medication I'm on for anxiety. The panic attack, 2 panic attacks, and they, oh my god, it's embarrassing because their calls are recorded at the medical surgery. And absolutely. And ever since then, my trust of her's gone. You know, how can you trust another individual that does that to you? How can you forgive people that do things like that to you? That's even harder. And my own religious upbringing, well, that's different. But the way I look at it now, they're going to get their just reward. So whatever people do to you, you might not be able to do things straight away. I wouldn't suggest retaliate at all. Self-defense, lawfully, of course. But that's what they want. The system wants you to reach out and retaliate back. They want you to slip up, especially when you're going through the assessment. They want you to have another label. Oh my goodness me. That's why I only trust my cats. Great, that because I don't look disabled. Yes, exactly. That's what gets me. I've got family members are deaf. I've got another family member has got sight disabilities. He cannot see, unseen disabilities, like you say. And you cannot judge. I never, ever, ever judge a book by cover. I take people as I find them. And I don't socialise I used to anymore. I don't, because of my personal situation. But yeah, I mean, this is what's wrong with, I mean, don't get me wrong, but there's a stereotype, isn't there, of there's all this statutory law, this is a contract law, I know, this is what the lawful rights are, and yet in this housing, for example, employees in my area for over the past year, and their subcontractor repair company are not disability awareness trained. Goodness me, before I knew, I had my late mum, bless her heart, help me adapt to 7 days a week, 3 visits a day, 17 different carers a week. Never in my life have I ever experienced that, and I went through hell for the first year to 2 years. And if it wasn't for my late mum visiting me and helping me and adjust to the being able-bodied to not being able-bodied, I don't know what I really don't know what I would have done. And obviously I had the opportunity to say goodbye to my mum before she passed. And if I hadn't, I don't think I would be coping with her death now. It's still fresh. And now all this on top. So it tests your spirit. It really does test your mind. It just tests. And then I get these comments more when during these assessment process, like they won't come to me. So I have to try and get out to that bloody cafe near me. And they don't realise when you got anxiety or your other unseen disabilities how you can't cope in public. Hello. And so there's no consideration. Like, for example, no, sorry, I was just more of my own then. I know that's like my brother has CB, and so I brought him up. Oh, really? You brought him up because my mum was on. Oh my gosh, bless your heart. That is absolutely admiring when you can do that. You know? What gets me is like, my mum had 5 of us. And she had a rough ride, and it's hard. It must have been hard for you, you know. It is hard for children, isn't it, nowadays? I mean, it all depends, because you look at it, right? Somebody's traumatized, they turn to something, don't they? So whether it's all different type of lifestyles, or turn to criminality, or drugs, or drink, or whatever it might be, to numb the pain they've gone through. So, or they could have been, you know, I've got personal friends from years ago, and how their family got into that situation, and their mums. And luckily, my upbringing, I'd never gone down that road. I'm not an angel. But over the years, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot worse. I would never make public. And I've seen a lot of people that are still well known in my town. And I know a lot of dodgy stuff I would never disclose. I'd always stay with me. It's not me worth talking about. I gotta still survive, if you know what I mean. And I know a lot of people, that's why we were both disabled. My God. That's why we are both disabled, because of her speed addiction. So basically, she had the drug problem, addiction, while she was pregnant, and you were born with your disabilities because of it. I admire you, you know. You're surviving, both of you and your brother. Absolutely. Top hat. Take my hat off to you. You're surviving. You're making something of yourself, you know. And that's what counts now. Can't change your past, can you? I can't change your past. I wish I had a crystal ball. But seriously, you can't change your past, what's happened. And what is here and now is in front of you. It's breathing the next hour. It's coping through every minute of the day. And like my mate done me a stew, and I won't eat it because until the body feels hungry, that's when you eat it. But if I had these bloody carers and the way they used to have, and the way they did things, oh, you got to be seen to doing this, otherwise we mark it in our journal, or whatever they do, and saying you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you wouldn't believe half the things they wrote about me years ago. But I don't give a monkeys, because I know who I am. As long as you know who you are deep down in your heart, none of these individuals, the system, what they're doing now is much worse. And I know most probably I might change my attitude by perhaps 2-3 months, because I'll be freaked out by all this change. And it's the biggest thing I don't do well is change. It's all part of my disabilities, other unseen ones. It's all a part of the trauma. So if you witness and experience your loved ones going through this, and if you haven't dealt with it within yourself, you're going to carry it with you in your mindset. And it all takes, I've had to do self-meditation to overcome things that happened to me. And what I've witnessed over the years, and I'm much older now, not that old, but older. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be able to cope with things now. I wouldn't be able to cope with the fact of my mum's dying. I wouldn't have coped with the effect of my religious family disowning me because I'm not part of them. And they get through to my own adult son and my daughter and my grandkids. I don't see them because of it. So how do you cope with that when you see so-called, oh, happy families? There's no such thing. Families, the pressure, society to have friends, to have family, it's always there. Look at every single conveyor belt system. Christmas, New Year, Easter, you gotta have family dinner, gotta do this, you gotta do that. It doesn't work. Behind the scenes, real life is what matters. Real compassion of people going through things and getting through it eventually. Why do you think there's all this push on mental health in the mainstream media all the time? You know, they're trying to normalise everything. No, everything's personal. We don't fit in a box. That's what frustrates me. I don't fit in a tick box for their computer system to, oh, you've got to do that procedure, and now this is a new statute law, this is that. Excuse me? Who gives you the right to tell me what to do? I will work with you if you're open and honest with me and support me and work lawfully and openly, not deceitfully. Yeah, I absolutely, these a lot of these key, I'm not saying everyone's like this, please don't get me wrong, but the key ones I'm dealing with are like this. They absolutely ignore their failings. They ignore in their job role. What they do in their personal life is their business. But in their job role as a public servant, I will hold them accountable lawfully. But even if it doesn't get anywhere, there's a paper trail on their computer. They can easily delete it, I know, but they have audits, don't they? They have an audit system. So yes, for years I used to brush a lot of this shite I went through under the carpet and not deal with it. It does, from my experience only though, I'm saying this, it does eat you up. It really does create a chip on your shoulder. And then you can't see that you need this, that and the other support. And this is what is difficult for me. I'm learning the hard way. I'm the change, for example. This now, to me, is bricks and mortar. There's so many negative memories here. When I got displaced last time from here into so-called respite, it weren't a respite. I can't go into information what it was and what happened, but put it this way, my ex years ago was a nasty piece of work, and he promised to help me look after this place when I wasn't here, so I wouldn't lose my secure tenure of housing. But out of that came a beautiful, intelligent lady I got to know, a platonic friend I've known for years since, and she's got a learning disability. And when I'm well enough, and she's depending on our link up, she gets badly treated by her family, and she's always calls me up when she needs a friend to talk to, you know. And when I'm able to, I listen. I just listen. And I've known her for all these years, and that's true friendship. We're not there 24 hours a day. She can't practically. I used to be her, the brain side. You know, I used to work out figures and things for her. I used to do a lot more than I am able to do now. So she used to do my physical help. So she would come and join my meal when the carers were here and help join in and share my meal, right? And then I had this abusive carer, 2 of them. Didn't cook my meal once, and the chicken was undercooked, and I choked. I went blue in the face. If my friend sitting in front of me hadn't known about first aid, that her son, who's in Scouts at the time, taught first aid, I would have been dead. Yeah, and them 2 blinking carers are behind me, laughing and joking behind my back. And all these years, ever since it happened, my friend, learning disability friend, a couple of weeks ago, reminded me when we had a coffee, reminded me about that. And I shall never, she never forgets it, nor do I. And we laugh about it now, but at the time, as a learning disabled individual, she knew exactly what to do. It goes to show you can't judge a book by the cover. And unfortunately, that's why I'm more cautious of what's been offered to me now and how it's been offered. And so I don't experience the same. So when you go through trauma, you go through negative experiences, you do have this at the back of your mind. I'm trying not to let it to affect me now. It's difficult, very difficult. So, as I said, I met an old friend from years ago when I was able-bodied in the old days, and he's now a church. It belongs to a different church in my area, and he's got a kind heart. Sometimes being able to choose your family is best, especially when unexpected and told. Sorry, I'm just going to read your comment. Sorry, I've got this phone that's playing up. Sometimes being able to choose your family is best, especially when you're unexpected low, and I could have helped. Hold on, I don't have to touch this bloody phone, am I? Right, I could have helped you, though I am a trained chef either, and done care work myself. Really? Well, you know all about oh gosh. What was I going to say? Chef, right. So if you're a trained chef, you know about, oh gosh, over the years I've been to so many different restaurants, and a la carte. Oh, I thought it was all the bees knees years ago. No, it ain't. But good quality. The French. Oh, don't get me started. The French. Some of the French dishes I used to love. Now my diet, my everything's changed because I can't eat normal foods. I have to have liquidated. Everything has to be chopped up. Oh, that's the point. I was at a bit of salad in front of me. But yeah, years ago, oh, I loved, the best thing my mum used to cook was Cornish pasties. If you're a chef and you ever tried to make a Cornish pasty without the peas, then and the type of short pastry, I was very good at pastry years ago. Then that's a good dish, and a stew. Oh, you can't beat a traditional dumpling stew. Dish, real English kind of meal, And then I'm not too keen on roast, all that stuff. I'm more into like healthy things I can find that is not, I mean, nowadays, where can you really find good quality food? Especially, well, actually, in your situation, beggars can't be choosers, can they? So I now, obviously, my mum years ago taught me never just to throw things away, not to hoard anything, obviously, but just to check your dates of your foods, but make sure you got a little bit of storage as what you can do in your own budget, especially when you're disabled. You don't know, your benefit could be stopped, couldn't it? So, and then I suppose when you're homeless and limited space, you're in a temporary accommodation, it's knowing, if you're a chef, you might have that skill, knowing what's nutritious. That's something I like to learn more on, because yeah, you get your oranges, your bananas and stuff, but for example, if you're in a temporary accommodation, you've got no fridge. Yeah, what you're going to know about tinned food or dried food that has got that nutrition, or that content of carbohydrate for the body that needs. And then it's just knowing which to mix a simple dish up, for example, with simple cheap foods, and that's still going to be tasteful. And that's something I've got planned if and wherever I end up safely, I hope. And don't know where yet or how, but that is a skill, definitely, nowadays, because you've got so many of these online YouTubes. Dine, an American, for example, I know a channel. That's Dine, that's it, Dine, Dine, Dine on a Dime website. It's a catchy kind of YouTube channel, but this American husband and wife, they like do the cooking and the budgeting. Obviously, you've got the family, but even though it will help when this for disabled people, when the cuts and the universal benefit system comes in, and I also, in the back of my mind, have this bigger picture where a lot of disabled people also who don't have the family network support, and where the state's coming in, I know there's new statute out as well, that could be looking into this. There's always these behind the scenes, there's all these little policies coming in every town and city in the UK, then conjunction with the national statute law, where they know that the universal credit replaces, for example, say someone's getting ESA, or whatever kind of benefit, for whatever reason, the Department of Works and Pensions, if anyone's listening from abroad, it's for when people are too ill or whatever personal situation and no job, they can access monetary system because they're not in a position to work. And also, so yeah, well, my friends are saying, well, I need to get and rest, and I hope the information I've given a little of might assist. I hope you do get the medication sorted out. I am income support, and I've tried to work. Yeah, I think, I don't know if you come across this yet, when I don't know if you access, depending, well, I suppose you're trained chef, so you need a secure location of living, won't you? So you can have somewhere to wash, shave, have sleep, and feeling safe, secure in yourself, to focus on your sort of like next level. Perhaps it's a chef, perhaps you could even be helping out in the so-called charity, perhaps in their environment that might have a cafe set up to help feed the homeless or something. The one that's set up in my area, I don't particularly like what they're doing because I know who's behind it. They're using the homeless people. Some people don't see it that they're being used, because as long as they've got the roof over their head and food in their tummy, and each to their own. But I know the guy that's running it, and I know a couple of the hierarchy people that's running the bigger picture of it, and I won't mention who they are, obviously, but they're now set it up as a business. So those that are living in this like mini type bed sits in this building, they also work in the kitchens and do the outsourcing business or catering. Okay, so they train them up, and you could say they're training them up to do a job in their business with accommodation, yeah, but the profit, they don't get paid nothing, and they just get, you're absolutely, and I'm glad it cheered you up, and hopefully you'll get a better situation. You're not on your own, absolutely. You know, just make a comment on my channel, you know, you find, and my channel's a mixed. Go back on my videos, you'll see about my housing. I hope it gets sorted somehow, but it's getting late. You might need to bed down yourself somewhere and get sorted out, and I do hope you get on. Just check in occasionally. Yeah, there's an agenda for a lot of people in a similar situation to us, and yeah, so anyone out there that's going through similar, then just be aware that there's a lot of us out there together trying to move on and get help. God bless. Hope you are looked after. Yeah, staying strong is trying to get there too. You take care. God bless. And anyone out, public servants out there, this is one will get back to you in due time on your offer, and one will seek a clarification. So take care, everybody else. Bye.